United 752, SoCal low, maintain 300 knots, clear ILS, runway 25 left approach. Polaris 918, speed 180 to the GG Connect Tower, 120.905, thank you, good night.
Okay, so here we are at YVR. We're going to set up an ILS flight from YVR to KC, SeaTac in Seattle. Flying in the Beechcraft Baron Twin and the GX1000 NXI GPS. So we'll show you how to set up that flight, navigate it, and then land it with ILS settings. So you can see we chose YVR departures, arrival 16R. Now I'm selecting the ILS 16R approach instead of leaving it on automatic, so we know that we will be landing on 16R and not some other runway. Okay, so here we are on the runway at YVR. And we'll do the basic setup here, which is adjust the altitude, probably start, I don't know. I don't remember. I don't think we actually had a set altitude flight plan, and Tower hasn't given us one, so I'm going to set it for 6,000 feet to start, and we'll see how that goes. And then choose the VY speed around 105 knots, so FLC, flight level change, and then flight level change hasn't shown up on the PFD. There it is, flight level. Oops, flight level change. Must have clicked it twice. Try that again. Come on. No, it's not showing there. Flight level change. There we go, flight level change, and now we have to click that up to about 105 knots, best rate of climb. Using this nose down button on the MFD to the right of the PFD in the GX1000 system. I've got 109 knots, close enough. Click the heading, push the heading button to set the heading, initial heading to the runway heading. Heading bug in the center there. Take a look at the MFD and our flight plan. I wish I could remember how to declutter this display. If somebody remembers, I'm just going to have to look that up at some point. It's really seriously cluttered. So we zoom out and some of that mess will disappear. See the exclusion zones and control zones, and our flight plan is there. So I think we're ready to go. Start with around 30 to 40% throttle, so we're not over controlling with the rudder until we get up to about 40 knots, and then I usually open it up wide at that point. Nice RCAF livery here from somebody at flightsim.to. Sorry, I can't remember who made this one. It's fictional, but I like it. Rotation speed on this aircraft I think is around 75 or 80 knots. We're about to find out. It tends to float off the runway pretty quickly compared to the single engine Bonanza. There we got 90, not floating off yet, but it will. There we go. Pull up the gear. Retract the flaps with a very good positive rate of climb, around 1,200 feet per second. Feet per minute. Vertical speed looking good.
Air Force 22 tree, contact Vancouver departure on 1 tree, 2 decimal tree. Good day.
1 tree, 2 decimal tree, Air Force 22 tree. Goodbye.
Copilot ATC is nice, just saves the effort of always pulling up the ATC interface. Oh, so obviously I am supposed to be at 3,000 feet. I'm going to try for 6,000 and we'll just see how it goes. Can always request an altitude increase on an ILS flight plan. This is about if I remember right, about a 25-minute flight. I'll edit out a little bit of the cruise altitude to make it shorter, some of the dead space. So as you can see, we're heading for our first waypoint, which is YVR en route. Now this, okay, so this is a manual leg. So we're going to have to select the direct to mode. So here's how you do that. Click on nav. Let's see if it, by chance, we are not following. We are not following that leg. So it is a manual mode. Yeah.
Air Force 22 tree, you are 700 feet above your assigned altitude.
So we'll click on the direct to button and then enter for YVR, and we'll let the autopilot will then handle that
Descend
for
and
us.
maintain 3,000 feet Air Force 22 tree.
They do want us to descend. Probably be flying in clouds at that altitude on this flight. But, okay. Set up a descent here, redoing the altitude, taking the altitude for 3,000. VS mode, and no, not nose up, other way around. Select nose down. VS, try VS mode again here. Didn't seem to take. There it is. VS mode. Okay. Nose down. Well, somewhere around.
Air Force 22
1,000 feet per minute, and that will make the ATC happy. And yeah, that's gonna put us into cloud. Okay. Care of that. We'll just select cruising altitude increase for 3,000 feet, and we'll go back to 6,000.
Vancouver departure Air Force 223. Request 6,000 feet.
Air Force 22 climb and maintain 6,000 feet.
Okay, so they're going to give that to
Climb
us.
and maintain
We'll take it.
6,000 feet Air Force 223.
Altitude bump up to 6,000. VS mode. Nose up. Okay, so there we are. We're set for cruise. We'll be at 6,000 feet for most of this flight until we get a call to descend or hit a waypoint, and we descend according to our flight plan. Looking good. Let's zoom in a bit. Beautiful day for a flight. Almost at our cruising altitude. All managed by the GX1000 now. I have a friend that loves this airplane. I don't think I've ever been in one. I've been in quite a number of twins, but never the Beech Baron. So for those of you who have, I'm jealous. It's a beauty to have a little plane. Okay, skip ahead a little bit. We're at Jawbone. About to make a turn here. Will be handled by the GX1000 and autopilot system as well. There we go. And we're 2 minutes from the next waypoint, and after that, probably not long after that, we'll be beginning our descent. 5 miles. And one of the things about ILS, well, I mean, we don't have to be sitting down here now, but you do spend a lot more time with your nose in the panels.
Keep speed not above 210 knots. Expect ILS runway 16 right approach via Gryphie transition. Cleared to Gryphie.
Okay, I
Speed not above
see.
210 knots. Expect ILS runway 16 right approach via Gryphie transition. Cleared to Gryphie Air Force 22 tree.
Probably not a lot of point flying all the way down to ILSE and then backpedaling to Gryphie. Let's think about that a minute. Yeah, so I pulled up the menu, flight plan menu, and selected Gryphie. So we're starting our turn directly to Gryphie, and that is our TOD point. So from there we'll start descending to set up our descent. And I'll show you in a minute how that's done. Just enjoy a moment of cruising above the islands here. Okay, time to set up our descent. Let's have a look here. Where are we at? Cooking along nicely at 6,000 feet and 153 knots. Just at the top of this cloud layer. At around, I think, 5:45 p.m. in the evening. So, set up our descent. We're going to be descending to 4,000 feet is the first descent point. And we will begin that descent when we hit TOD, top of descent. And that'll be managed by the GX1000. We'll just take a moment to set that up. So, first of all, we adjust our altitude as before. I'm gonna slip sideways here so we can actually zoom out a bit. There, that's better, so we can see the altitude change here. We're gonna set that at 4,000, outer knob for 1,000 feet, and inner knob for hundreds. We're at 4,000 now. Select VNAV, vertical navigation mode, and we are set to go. That's really 2 steps. You set the altitude, click VNAV, and you're done. It will, at top of descent, the aircraft should begin descending. We'll check to verify that that does indeed happen and go from there. CLAC will be the next one. We probably won't even hit 4,000 feet before we're descending to Budley. And there's the ILS, the call from the tower
Descend and maintain
to
4,000
confirm
feet
that
Air Force
We're ahead of the game here. So reduce, cutting throttle a bit here. And there she goes, engaging turn, and we should be engaging the descent at the same time. And there it is, nicely managed by the GPS and GX1000. That's coming over the northern part of, just north of Seattle here now, not too far from our runway, SeaTac.
Force 22 tree descend and maintain 3,200 feet.
I skipped ahead and I've already set up the descent to 3200 feet. As you can see, already set up here at 3200 is selected, and we're nicely on descent. The next descent, I believe, is to 1600. Let's just wait a moment. So now we're coming into alignment with the runway in our final couple of legs. Skipped ahead a little bit, shorten this descent.
11 miles north of Seattle. Contact Seattle Tower on 119.9 when inbound on the approach.
Tower on 119.9 Air Force 22 Seattle Tower Air Force 22 10 miles north inbound ILS runway 16 right approach.
Air Force 22 Seattle Tower. Altimeter 29.9, 2 winds 255 at 5. Cleared ILS runway 16 right approach.
Okay, so I have just activated approach mode, and I'm just going to back up now and show you how I did that from this menu using the FMS button. And selecting activate approach, rolling it down with the outside
Cleared to land runway
knob,
16 right
down
Air Force
to activate
22
approach, and then enter key. And that gave us our, as you can see, our missed approach on the screen, as well as activated the autopilot for ILS mode, and so we are now on the glide slope, as you can see. GS in green, localizer, and GS. We are on the glide slope, coming down nicely now. And the only thing left to do really is manage the speed, manage the throttle. So I'll cut back a little bit on power, and in another minute here we'll drop some flaps and the gear. Looking really good. .135 knots, drop some flaps, 10 degrees. Speed will come down just a little more, and drop the gear. Looking really good. We're on glide slope. Beautiful. Had to restart this flight, so it's a little later in the evening. It's got a major stutter issue after a long pause. But looking good. And this is a nice little flight from YVR to KC in Seattle SeaTac in this lovely Beechcraft using the GX1000. Hope you enjoyed the flight. Going to touch down in a second and then taxi off the runway. Call it a night.
Air Force 223 exit runway when able. Air Force 223 contact ground on 126.875.
126.875 Air Force 223. Goodbye. Seattle ground Air Force 223 request taxi to parking.
Air Force 223 taxi to general aviation parking via taxiway Papa, cross runway tree 4 center Papa, cross runway tree 4 right Papa 15 Sierra Niner Niner.
Taxiing to general aviation parking using taxiway Papa.